Fears that the situation extends beyond mineral loss, River Nyamwamba pours its waters into Lake George and later connects to the Kazinga Channel, raising concerns that acidic substances from the tailings could harm aquatic life and disrupt the broader ecosystem.
We're also having an effect on the fish because these copper tailings, they contain so many other substances that are very dangerous for human consumption because the fish in the lake is taking in the water mixed with these chemicals. And then the people are also taking the fish.
The chairperson of the Kasese District Disaster Management Committee, Mustafa Chichusa, says the district lacks the technical and financial capacity to secure the tailings site. He is calling upon the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development and the Ministry of Water and Environment to urgently intervene before more damage occurs.
Us as a district, we cannot manage. Again, it is the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, together with the Ministry of Water and Environment, they have to work together. That's when it can be done. But as a district, work.
Geologists identify the affected site, commonly referred to as Dam C, as one of the 11 tailings dams left behind by Canadian operators before Kilembe Mines ceased operations in 1982. Authorities are now being urged to treat the matter as both an environmental emergency and an economic crisis.
Now that takes us to the 2025 Auditor General's report. And that was significant because it revealed encroachment on Uganda's wetlands with 6.3% of the wetland cover already degraded. It also does highlight challenges. I'm talking the Auditor General's report, highlighting challenges in restoring a degraded wetlands it is. Now, more reason why we should break down those details with you and for you. So onto the big screen we go. Now, types of encroachment, that does include apartment and construction. You know who that does, who is doing that. So if your dad is doing that, you know why we have a problem. Hotels, washing bays, very common, and settlement, and that is the Auditor General's report, at least the one of 2025, talking types of encroachment. Now, again, types of encroachment, we're looking at sand mining, artisanal mining, and brick making. Those making bricks will normally want to be making them within the wetland, unfortunately. So we're also looking at some big figures here. Wetland demarcation, 739,034 square kilometers, that's 18%. Of planned 4,150 square kilometers completed by the Ministry of Water and Environment. So the restoration hasn't gone in tandem with what should have been the case. Restoration orders, that's only 146, 46% it is of the 319 orders issued by NEMA in 2024-2025 were enacted upon, leaving 173, that's 54% still pending. Restoration, we're still looking at the Auditor General's report here. And the key challenges here, one of those is underfunding, and the ministry has received only 11% of the required, shilling 6 billion for wetland demarcation. That is the challenge. Then regulatory gaps, absence of formal appeals, regulations and guidelines, irregular appeals committee seatings, and staff shortages. Only 45 environmental police officers responsible for protecting 8,614 gazetted wetlands across 37,346 square kilometers in the 135 districts and 10 cities. So we don't have enough police to be able to protect you Ugandans from destroying the wetlands here. Talking wetlands, let's still keep the conversation on wetness, but this is a very different type of wetness. We're talking the wetness that comes from the rains. So it's going to be flooding, and that has become an almost certain and predictable pattern and life of Kampala whenever heavy rains do fall, and we do expect those. Roads disappear under the water, businesses count losses, and residents in low-lying areas brace themselves for disruption, with meteorologists now predicting above normal, yes, above normal rainfall between March and May. The spotlight is once again on the city's preparedness and capacity, or the lack of it, and the Kampala Capital City Authority is saying It has already desilted drainage channels, widening waterways, and strengthened storm water systems to prevent widespread flooding. But as the rainy season approaches, many residents say they will believe it when they see it. Seeing happens to be believing.
As Uganda steps into March, the Uganda National Meteorological Authority is warning of above normal rainfall expected to stretch through May. For many parts of the country, that forecast signals a productive planting season. But for Kampala, it signals concern. Year after year, heavy rainfall overwhelms sections of the capital. Roads become impassable, businesses close early, commuters are stranded, and in low-lying areas such as Bwaise, Natete and parts of Nakawa, floodwaters can rise within minutes. With the new rainy season approaching, attention now turns to preparedness. The Kampala Capital City Authority says this time the city is ready.
KCCA is prepared and has prepared itself.
According to KCCA spokesperson Daniel Nwabine, mitigation efforts began weeks before the first major downpour. He says the authority has intensified desilting operations in primary and secondary drainage channels across the city, removing accumulated mud, plastic waste and debris that restricts water flow. He says major waterways have been widened to increase capacity and reduce pressure during peak rainfall.
We have gone a long way to clear the drainages and other waterways to make sure the runoff or the stormwater runoff doesn't get clogged or blocked anywhere. And we have increased the sizes to 900 millimeter diameter culverts.
Beyond clearing drains, KCCA says it has strengthened water outflow systems leading into Lake Victoria to ensure stormwater exits the city more efficiently. Technical teams, according to the authority, are working around the clock to inspect and maintain critical drainage infrastructure.
We have deployed our colleagues who are in the drainage section to make sure they keep evacuating any of that garbage, any of those pellets, any of those obstacles that may hinder stormwater to flow freely.
However, on the ground, skepticism remains. Some residents say they have had similar assurances in previous years, yet flooding continues to disrupt their lives each rainy season. KCCA acknowledges that infrastructure alone may not solve the problem. Officials cite indiscriminate garbage disposal as one of the biggest contributors to urban flooding. Plastic bottles, polythene bags and household waste dumped into drainage channels often block water pathways, causing rapid outflow when heavy rains fall. Despite the challenges, KCCA maintains that it has sufficient funding and logistical support to manage this year's rainy season.
Human behavior might be the bigger problem here, and certainly not the rain. Now, ahead of the March election of a new Secretary General for the East African Community, questions are emerging, as they should, over whether the bloc can move beyond political succession to address pressing economic and security challenges. Analysts do warn that mounting budget shortfalls, persistent non-tariff barriers, and regional tensions are testing whether integration can progress or stall under unresolved conditions it is.
The East African Community is set to meet in Arusha this March to elect a new Secretary General, an event largely framed around political succession. However, economic experts are raising a more pressing question beyond politics. Can the bloc address the deepening funding crisis and recurring trade tensions that threaten to stall regional integration? Experts highlight non-tariff barriers ranging from inconsistent product standards and duplicative inspections to bureaucratic delays at border posts that continue to undermine the logic of a common market.
Of any material of any nature, what are the standards? The East African member states must agree on standards of commodities that will be traded across the region. We have, for example, we have here Uganda National Bureau of Standards that should be able to make sure that the goods that we export are of international standards.
The new Secretary General of the EAC comes in at a challenging time when there is what I would call integration fatigue. You see that member states are not contributing their fair share, and the Secretariat has therefore been struggling with funding shortfalls. Particularly the new countries like DRC and South Sudan have not been very diligent in paying their subscription dues. Now Somalia has joined, so they have to bring back vibrancy into the community. They have to ensure that the new entrants are committed to integration.
Cross-border disputes and instability in Eastern DRC have also been cited as tests of regional cohesion. Analysts argue that managing internal conflicts will be critical for the next Secretary General to drive meaningful integration.
The leaders must work towards having peace in the region. I think the issue of M23 and the Rwandan and DRC question should be settled amicably. I know there's been the U.S. mediation going on. The same thing with South Sudan, with Riek Machar, with the President Salva Kiir.
Of the day. And talking about governance, the EAC has faced a number of governance-related challenges, because when we talk about governance, we link it to institutions. EAC institutions are a bit weak. They are not delivering on their mandates. And not delivering on their mandates also really
Let's look at the feedback. We did ask a question, and we want to look at some of your responses, and that is on the story we just did. That's the East African community. What should the core agenda of the next EAC Secretary General, if elected, to strengthen regional cohesion and deliver effective integration? What should be that agenda? So let's look at some of the responses thereof coming here. Looking at some of the responses, it is Douglas saying the Secretary General's agenda should focus on full operationalization of the EAC integration pillars, ensuring the adoption of a single currency across the region and the maintenance of peace and security throughout the community. Douglas emphasizing there, and Griffin says must focus on stabilizing bloc's finances, resolving regional security conflicts, especially in DRC, and fast-tracking monetary union and political federation. Will that happen in our lifetime? Well, we continue to remain very hopeful.
More to come.
It is Ambassador Laro Tunu issuing a word of caution to new elected leaders in Acholi to do better than the ones before them, or if you may, their predecessors in the 11th have done. That story and more stories again. There's also a story on William Ruto and what his take on the opposition, and a few more stories when we come back right after this break. NBS.
We're not made to be alone. It's baked deep into our DNA.
of a flu bug going around, but regardless, we move. Now, President William Samoei Ruto has cautioned and continued to attack the opposition in Kenya, terming them as clueless and lacking a clear agenda for Kenya. The head of state says their absence of a development plan has handed the ruling alliance an upper hand ahead of the next general election. Edwin Mbugua does report.
Shortly after the United Democratic Alliance Party secured victory in 4 recent by-elections, the president described the wins as a strong endorsement of his administration's development record.
Jana kulikuwa tena na uchaguzi ingine. 4 out of 4 wale jamaa wamelala chini.
Ruto also pointed to another round of by-elections held 2 months ago, where UD and Orange Democratic Party won 7 out of 7 seats, reinforcing what he termed as growing national confidence in the broad-based alliance.
Mtu mahali wewe unajifanya principal, mahali umepiga kura, tumekushinda hapo kwako. Alafu unatuambia utakuja kushindana na mimi, utakuja kushindana na mimi wapi? Polling station yako hauna hesabu kwa polling station yako.
The head of state was speaking in Nairobi County during the inspection of the ongoing construction of Bomas International Convention Center, which is expected to position Kenya as a premier destination for international conferences, while boosting tourism and creating employment opportunities.
Kazi yote nimewaeleza, hii Bomas tunaenda kujenga airport, barabara tumesema tunaanzisha barabara kilomita 28,000 mpya, hiyo reli tunasukuma, airport pale tunajenga, dam sasa, unajua nimepata pesa.
As political debate intensifies, President Ruto is anchoring his message on infrastructure, job creation, and economic transformation, framing development as a defining issue in the run-up to the next polls.
Uchaguzi ni mambo ya siku moja. Hatuwezi kufanya kazi hii yote ati tunalenga uchaguzi. Si uchaguzi ni kazi ya siku moja? Na nyinyi si mnajua vile mtafanya? Wakenya wanajua vile watafanya. Si namna hiyo? Lakini hii mipango yote tunafanya sio kwa sababu ya uchaguzi, hapana. Ni kwa sababu tunataka kujenga taifa letu la Kenya.
The president now urging Kenyans to rally behind what he calls a development-driven agenda, dismissing opposition criticism as political noise.
Hapo unasikia mtu mwingine hako na akili kidogo, anasema ati atakuja kusimamisha hizi kazi. Huyo mtu anaelewa Kenya hii nini inaendelea? Ate mnasema ajaribu.
Edwin Mbugua, K24.
Mtu akili kidogo amechanganyikiwa. Very funny take there. Now, former UN diplomat Ambassador Laro Tudo has urged newly elected leaders from Acholi sub-region to demonstrate unity and strong leadership in the 12th Parliament, warning against a repeat of the chaos and disunity that did characterize the Acholi parliamentary group in the 11th Parliament. He also called on legislators to set aside differences and work collectively in the broader interests of the region.
For much of the 11th Parliament, the Acholi parliamentary group was plagued by divisions, marked by factional formation, stemming from disunity, internal party conflicts, intrigue among members and persistent bickering. Addressing newly elected legislators set to represent the region in the 12th Parliament, former UN diplomat Ambassador Lara Tuno urged them to embrace strong, united leadership to effectively advocate for solution to challenge facing the region.
Leadership. Absent leadership, we can do very little. Or leadership that is not devoted to the people, that has no fidelity to the people, that's not concerned about the real well-being of the people, that is not invested in developing little small people to become something. Leadership that's just self-serving, only concerned about what do I do for myself, my family, how much money do I put in my pocket, how big will my house be. Leadership.
Utuno noted that if they will be effective leaders, they must set aside party affiliations and prioritize the interests of the common person over personal gains.
There is no place for dividing and labeling people. You know, he's NRM and he's NUP and he's DP. He worships this side of town, I worship the other side of town. No, this has to be a truly inclusive, pan-Acholi effort, joined by others outside the community who are persons of goodwill and groups of and entities of goodwill.
On the region's rebuilding agenda, to emphasize the need to confront the lasting scars of past conflicts and refocus efforts on human development and fulfillment of long-standing pledges.
Aggressive program in terms of reviving the moral order within this society, who we are as a people, who we are, what kind of a people we are, getting back to who we are as a people. And secondly, reviving education.
The Acholi sub-region is presented by 28 legislators, including constituency and women representatives in the parliament.
Ambassador Laro Tunu, very clear. That word is pronounced right. No. Now, thousands of royalists braved heavy rains to celebrate 100 years of His Royal Highness Moses Stephen Owor in Tororo in a grand ceremony graced by Vice President retired Major Jessica Alupo on behalf of President Yoweri Museveni. The milestone event blended culture, pride, unity and cause for peace as leaders held the monarch's 26 years of steady leadership.
Then in bad weather, thousands of people from Uganda and neighboring Kenya flocked to Elgon View Primary School grounds in Tororo to celebrate 100 years of His Royal Highness Moses Stephen Owor, the cultural leader of the Chapadola. The colorful ceremony was graced by the Vice President Jessica Alupo, who represented President Yoweri Museveni. Several cultural leaders from across Uganda and Kenya also attended the historic event. One after another, cultural political leaders praised the Tienga Dola Cultural Institution for steady and wise leadership under Kwara Dora over the past 26 years.
Longevity is not just about adding years to life, but it is adding life to years. We are leaders, we have done a lot, and the way to continue mentoring us.
The International Justice Mission, an organization championing the fight against violence against women, commended the cultural leader for supporting efforts to reduce gender-based violence in the district.
Your Highness, we celebrate your leadership in championing protection and peaceful coexistence in homes and communities.
In his address, Kwadola attributed his longevity to the love and support of his subjects throughout his leadership. He expressed gratitude to the government for its support, particularly in the creation of new districts out of Tororo, which he said has fostered peace. However, he reminded the government of its pledge to construct a palace and support the establishment of a cultural institution university. Reading President Museveni's message, the Vice President Jessica Alupo applauded the cultural leader for championing government programs and urged residents to maintain peace for continued development.
Your Royal Highness, I am gratified to know that since the restoration of this cultural institution, the NRM government has enjoyed cordial and a healthy relationship with your kingdom. I urge the people, therefore, to work hard for the development of the kingdom.
On the President's proposal to create 8 additional districts out of Tororo, Alupo called for calm, urging residents to trust the existing leadership, assuring them that the government will deliver on its commitments at an appropriate time.
That time of evening, we look at some of the views coming out of leadership across the country, region, and sometimes across the world. Let's look at those views there, and that is James Ochaya. This afternoon, alongside senior officers, received Ramadan hampers provided by corporate social responsibility support 50 Muslim families in their fast during the ongoing Ramadan Kareem. And Antonio Gutierrez, I condemn today's military escalation in the Middle East, the use of force by the United States and Israel against Iran, the subsequent retaliation by Iran across the region undermines international peace and security. All members states must respect the obligations under international law, including the Charter of the UN. The Charter clearly prohibits the threat of the use of force against the territorial integrity of political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. The question is, who cares what is being said by Secretary General? And among, we are honored to host His Royal Highness Qasim, achieving the title head of Islam in Uganda and the Muslim community for this year's Ramadan Eve dinner at Parliament. We express sincere gratitude to all who honor our invitation. May the Almighty Allah accept our fasting and grant you your heart's desires. Ramadan Kareem. But now does take another commercial break. It's about money that pays me. Let's get to more stories here. More than 240 trainees under the Presidential Initiative on Skilling have been assessed by officials from the Uganda Vocational and Technical Assessment Board. This after they completed their final practical exams at the Mengo Zonal Presidential Industrial Hub in Kayunga District.
And the Vocational and Technical Assessment Board officials inspected practical examinations in carpentry, welding, building, construction, and other disciplines. According to the Principal Assessment Officer in charge of Home Science Education and Training at UVITAB, Asafar Naitwe, the 6-month competence-based training aligns with Uganda's long-term development goals.
Even the board, UVITAB, is also ensuring that these competencies are assessed so that when they go in the field, they are not doubted. That one has been done. The items were prepared, they were moderated.
He says the initiative will help reduce unemployment and discourage the youth from engaging in illegal activities by equipping them with job-ready skills.
So in the future, we are not
The training is free and requires only a recommendation letter from local leaders.
This program is reaching out to that very individual. That person not lost hope and giving up on life. The president is extending a hand of renewal, offering them a second chance to learn a skill, to stand tall, to become self-reliant.
Finalists will receive a Level 1 UVITAB certificate equivalent to Senior 4. The program has also established circles for graduates to support enterprise development.
Apparently, we have just established circles, and these are the ones that these students are going to use to access loans to set up their own business enterprises.
The trainees are part of the Presidential Skilling Hubs program, which was introduced to tackle youth unemployment by providing free hands-on vocational training to young people aged 18 to 35, especially school dropouts.
It is the adoption of artificial intelligence in Uganda that is gaining momentum as interest does grow among citizens eager to understand global technological trends. Learning institutions are now leading the change, with Victoria University registering over 6,000 applicants for short courses in under a week. Meanwhile, the government is moving beyond policy development, and it is introducing AI as a course in advanced secondary education to prepare future generations for an AI explosion.
Technology is increasingly driving global development, with artificial intelligence at the forefront of digital transformation. However, a significant digital divide remains between the Western world and the developing countries in AI integration. Learning institutions like Victoria University have taken the lead in embedding AI into daily academic activities. The university has introduced AI-focused courses that have already attracted hundreds of applications. University Chancellor Dr. Lawrence Muganga says that the initiative aims to produce tech-savvy graduates capable of driving development.
Because that is what it defines the future. So, and we don't want to become the last people. We want to be early adopters of this kind of technology, such that we drive education. We drive higher education. So that's why you saw that we are saying in every program of ours, every program, in every degree program, or diploma, or master's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, diplomas, it is compulsory for students to study AI courses.
Beyond higher education, the National Curriculum Development Center has moved to incorporate AI into secondary school curriculum, preparing students to create technology-driven solutions for the country's future.
So it is a stepping stone, first of all, understanding how artificial intelligence works, and then when they go to higher institutions of learning, then they build on that and develop more sophisticated systems that are driven by artificial intelligence.
And I encourage them actually to take it further down, because we wouldn't be the first people. I think Estonia, that country called Estonia, AI is compulsory for every learner now. Responsible AI.
Globally, technology giants such as Apple, burgeoning in $4 billion, Nvidia in $4.6 trillion, and Microsoft, that is worth $3.53 trillion, have leveraged AI to fuel growth. Their market capitalization nearly doubles the combined GDP of the African continent, which is approximately of $2.8 trillion, highlighting the economic influence of AI-focused firms.
By 2030, 2035, we are likely to see GDP growth in the world. On average, we are likely to see 7% GDP growth. Different economies.
The Minister of Information and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Barriomose, says that the government is developing an AI strategy and policy in Uganda